Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Monday. It's Makeover Monday. It's a time for a new start. Fresh start on your week. Whatever happened last week, that's over. Today's a new day. Recreate yourself, recreate your future, recreate your life. It's Monday. You can do it. Whatever happened yesterday is dead and buried. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you people?
People,
Well,
me,
Mara's a person. She's there. She's got a microphone. So, yes, we can play Ignore Mara Day. That's okay with me.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to clarify here.
People.
You got to direct it in one way, or we all start talking at the same time.
Okay. Good morning, Mara. Good morning, Kastuba. How are you guys?
You did it again.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Okay, Raghu. It's another week. Another week to get into it.
Don't let Maya in an inch. So I came back yesterday, and my son was watching a movie with a friend on the couch, and it was like it was like a creepy sound, like an orchestra, and I had to like lure my head in. I was like, "What are you watching?" And they're like, "It's a movie called Smile." Ever heard of that? I've never.
No.
I don't know anything about movies. But, here's the deal. Don't give yourself an inch with these type of movies. I watched this movie for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, what type of movie are we talking about?
It is like some horror, ghostly, dark, evil spirit type of movie.
Are you sure this isn't just your mother's like training?
You know what?
to-
My mother was
She
very,
trained-
very wise with all her
Okay.
craziness. Very wise in this regard. That movie got into my brain for about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
That was enough to like have me in my bed thinking of the scariest thoughts ever. These impressions in the mind are real. And we get serious about our, I can't eat gluten, or I only eat local organic vegetables. I'll only eat raw foods. Does this have onion and garlic in it? Careful what you put in your mind, people. Our mind, these things are delicate. That is a disturbing images, disturbing type of creepy eeriness. Can't let that in.
Oh, so you're saying like less important than these ritualistic details. They might have some importance, but like watching a movie like this, they would have definitely like restricted this for yogis' behavior.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it should be part of the regulative principles, and
Creepy
I will
movies?
not watch any demonic movies
Okay.
that deal with dark entities, ghosts, possession.
Smile, you say, huh?
Smile.
Everyone's out there
Someone
Googling
Google
it right now. Smile. All right, I will stay away from Smile, Raghunath, just because you've asked me to.
Okay. Yeah. Please don't do that. Okay. Otherwise,
Announcements? We got announcements?
Mara?
Yes, we do. We have Back to Recovery group meetings at 1 and 2 p.m. Tomorrow, Lisa Bermudez is offering a special workshop with her essential oils and healing the chakras. That'll be noon to 2 p.m. for our Patreon members.
Okay.
And that's it. By the way, the Bhakti Recovery retreat in London, in England, was incredible. I heard so much positive feedback about that. And Jiva G will be at our Italy retreat happening in late June, July. If you're interested in that, we're going to have Bhakti Recovery there all the time. If you're interested in that, check our website. Mara, are there any more spaces for our Super Souls Wisdom of Sages retreat with Satchidananda Swami?
There's a couple spaces in the men's ashram.
All right, and of course, people stay. Sometimes people get Airbnbs and do that too. So write us at what's our email for that?
supersoultrainings@gmail.com.
supersoultrainings@gmail.com. If you got info, Mara answers that. She'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
How about nugget today, Raghunath?
Have we got a nugget? We've got a Monday nugget for you, my friend. These are getting into about this incredible chapter we're going to, where Judd Bart now, who is, a quote dullard. He's not a dullard. He's actually quite wise, and he's going to start to correct the king. Now, the kings are supposed to be very learned, very wise, incredibly educated, and he's going to drop some wisdom nuggets on the king today. But this is from...
But the point being, how does that relate to the nuggets that we're reading?
Because it's all about judgment and how Judd Bart was easily judged on externals, Okay, so here we are. This is from Anonymous. You may know him. He's famous for lots of quotes. Anonymous.
I believe he may be an alcoholic too.
Yeah. Yes. We are very good. We are very good lawyers for our own mistakes, but very good judges for the mistakes of others. That is good.
You like that one?
That's a good one, isn't it? Very good lawyers for our own mistakes, right? Very expert at rationalizing. Well, you don't understand the whole picture. But when someone else does something wrong, it's like, hang them, burn the witch. It's like
true.
a mob rule. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Read it again. Read it again.
One more. Okay. This is a very good.
No, I'm saying read the same one again.
I'm gonna. This is like a good T-shirt here, Mara, or a scarf. We are very good lawyers for our own mistakes, but very good judges for the mistakes of others.
Yeah, I read a quote similar to this. I think it was Mahatma Prabhu. He was a bhakti speaker, and it was something. It was very similar to this. I think it was like, we want justice for everybody else, but we want mercy for ourselves.
Sure. And there's a balance between mercy and justice that, that scale goes back and forth. And we got to be careful if we lean too much into one over the other as well.
There's a balance, huh?
It's got to be a balance. If you're like almost too merciful, then people can do atrocious things. There's got to be a push, atrocious things to yourself, or you can be merciless to yourself.
Okay.
Right. And then if you're too judgmental all the time, and condemning all the time, hey, it's like, come on, we're devotees here. We're the guys that go into prison and preach to the prisoners. You know what I mean? We'll give them mercy, but like our family members, we don't give them mercy. Come on.
Right. Okay. Now, what's the next nugget?
That's interesting, isn't it? There's so many like prison ministries out there. It's not like you're going to everybody like in prison going, all right, what are you in for? What are you in for? What are you in for? No, but we're very quick to condemn people close to us in our life. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, you want to hear another one, sir?
Yeah.
This is from Walt Whitman.
Okay.
Be curious, not judgmental. Be curious.
Be curious.
Right.
Something's going on. The first impulse, judge.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, be curious. Like find out. First of all, find out the whole story. No more of this mob rule. That's what that's what cancel culture is. It's mob rule.
Yeah, whether it's that or other ways, I think you got to put a little, what do you call it? A little time in between the impulse and the response. Is that how you phrased it in the past, Raghunath?
It's not I know.
It's
It's Viktor Frankl.
Oh, Viktor Frankl.
between stimulus and response,
Yeah.
there's a space.
Okay. For curiosity, what's going on here?
To dig at, between stimulus and response. And in that space lies our, lies an appropriate reaction.
Mhm.
When there's just
More
stimulus
informed.
response, that's
Yeah.
addiction. Stimulus response with no space. So you gotta, if there's no space there, you gotta learn how to create space. Matter of fact, yoga is all about creating space between stimulus and response. Raising everything up to sattva is it, right? That is the space we create between stimulus and response. And that's why we breathe. That's why we're mindful.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we breathe. If we
That's the only reason why we.
Okay.
That's why we practice like deep breathing. To slow the heartbeat, to slow the mind, slow it down a little. That's why we're mindful about things. Okay. Anyway, can I continue on with this judgment?
We got 4
fiasco?
judgment nuggets. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're great nugs. Once you awaken, you will have no interest in judging those who sleep.
I love that. I want to, but I think we need to get to the bottom of something here. Like, what do we mean by judging exactly here, right? Because aren't we supposed to have some kind of discernment as we move through life, and can't we see?
Yeah. So the difference between discernment and judgment, right? Judgment holds you to a place. It's a condemnation. It's saying you're a jerk.
But isn't condemnation sometimes appropriate?
No. Not
Never?
for spirits. Not for spirit souls.
Nothing can be condemned. Like if someone murders a child.
Activities can be condemned.
Okay.
But as Vaishnavas, we don't condemn even the person that does the most horrible things.
Why not?
We condemn the heart because people can change at any moment. At any moment, once you get into the condemnation game, you've cemented them to that incarnation. It goes against everything that we believe. That we are a being that can make choices. And in those choices, we can either upgrade our life or degrade our life. That doesn't mean we should say, hey, you know what? This person's done this repeatedly. This guy's done this to that woman, this to that woman, this to that woman. I don't think I'm going to date this guy. That doesn't mean we can't see a person's track record before making a choice. But to hold the person to something they've done in the past, that's against our philosophy.
What do you mean?
That's against the philosophy of hold them to this. That's all you'll ever be. Like if I say, Kostuba, you're a jerk.
You're a loser.
That's a condemnation. If I say you're acting like a jerk, that's something different.
Okay.
And this is what it's just these simple language games that tie a person to some old incarnation of themselves that they can never get out of. And if you hear it on a regular basis, how much you are bad, you are stupid, you are unintelligent. That doesn't make a kid change. That doesn't make a kid even hate the parent who's saying that. It makes the kid hate themselves. We have to give them access out of that incarnation of themselves. Like, I don't like what you're doing today. That's not what good kids do.
Okay.
If you're correcting a child, say, and for you, if I say, hey, I found that like an inappropriate behavior. I didn't like the way you spoke to me, So there's a difference between like discernment and a condemnation.
Okay, yeah, and I think also it has to do with our philosophy of understanding, that each one of us is a spark of spiritual energy, a conscious being trapped within a body, placed under different circumstances, being influenced by the modes of material nature, trying to find happiness in the world, and making a lot of bad decisions, that tend to harm others, and I may condemn your behavior exactly like you're saying, but I understand that underneath it, there is that pure spirit soul. And whatever you're doing right now, I've probably done 1,000,000 times in previous incarnations, I don't hate you. I recognize where you're at. And this quote here, once you awaken, you'll have no interest. Like we take an interest in condemning, like we try to derive a taste from it. It has something to do with how we feel about ourselves, But once you awaken, you don't need to feel validated by tearing someone else down or judging someone else, right? Once you awaken, you will have no interest in judging those who are asleep. I like that one.
I like that too. I'd wear that shirt.
Okay.
All right, one
And then
more.
there's one last one.
Yeah, this is also from
Anonymous.
it might have been a devotee. I've heard him write some devotee songs too. Anonymous.
Okay. True.
How much can I use this joke for? Those who judge will never understand, and those who understand will never judge. That's an easy one.
You like
Those
that
who
one?
judge will never understand.
Right. It's like you're kind of being controlled by your lower nature when you're in that condemnation mode,
Sure.
and it's limiting your own perspective.
And you almost like you don't want to understand, right?
Yeah, you got to be curious, like Walt Whitman was saying.
And those who
Why
understand
is this person
will
behaving
never
this way?
judge.
Yeah.
And this is a big part of understanding backstories and situational. I think I like to say, and I don't know where I heard this from, but I think it was a devotee. We discern, we don't condemn.
Okay.
We don't condemn. I don't even like to use the word judge anymore because it's been misused. Don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. Does that mean we throw discernment out the window? Right? Even if I want to eat an avocado today, I've got to don't judge that avocado. I got to judge if I can eat it today. It's hard as a rock.
Totally brown. Don't judge it.
Don't judge it. I'm not judging, but I'm discerning.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's that famous story people shared a lot about, I think it was on a subway in New York, and there was one parent there, and they had a few kids, and the kids were just being wild and out of control.
Yeah, this is from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Is that where that is?
Yeah,
Okay.
by Stephen Covey, yeah.
Yeah, and then, finally someone on the subway just got frustrated and upset, like, hey, why aren't you controlling
Watching your
kids?
kids.
What's your problem?
Your kids are crazy. You're looking at the floor. They're causing a disturbance to everybody, and you don't even pay attention.
You're not doing a thing about it. Yeah.
Mm.
And then, so they were condemning without being curious. And then the father said, I'm sorry. It's just, we just got word, my wife, their mother just died, and they haven't even processed it yet. And I haven't, it's something like that, right?
Yeah. And then you have a whole paradigm shift. When we
And you have a whole paradigm
understand,
shift.
when we're a little bit more understanding, we have paradigm shifts.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think there's a certain magic. And when I say magic, what I mean is it not only keeps one's own consciousness more situated in truth and more situated in compassion, which is advantageous for our freedom and our liberation and our happiness, but it also gives potential for the person that's being condemned or judged to elevate themselves, right? Just like you're saying, you kind of lock someone in with a condemnation response. But when you actually try to understand someone, that's where the progress starts, right?
Sure.
Like, hey, what's going on here? Like, like rather than come and say, what's your problem? Saying, hey, is there a problem here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Just having that attitude in general with people. And I think the saintly people, the real yogis, they kind of operate in that mode, and they really touch the lives of the people that they come in contact with.
That's why I think that it's very difficult and very triggering for people on holidays to go home to families that they haven't been around in 5 years or 10 years or a year, because our family, who we've lived with, who we grew with, oftentimes they hold us in some dynamic and some relationship that we've had maybe 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 50 years ago, and they hold you to those same standards that they had back then. And so if you have an older brother that's 5 years older than you, in his eyes, you're 5 and he's 10. And he's going to remind you of that when he sees you, and almost like forget your life experience, your education, all you've done in your life. You are now a 5-year-old in that relationship, and you've gone back in time, and I always, tell the funny story about I was visiting my big Italian Catholic family, and I was pouring a glass of orange juice for my kids, and my mother just looks at me and goes, "Don't spill. You're the spiller." I was like, I'm the. What do you mean I'm the spiller? And then, of course, my brother chimes in. Yeah, you are the spiller. You always were the spiller. I was like, what are you guys talking about? I'm the spiller. I haven't spilled in years. And it's one of these things. It's like their condemnations where they freeze you in time to something or something you were. And truthfully, it goes against everything that and you feel helpless. And it's one of these reasons we hate to go back sometimes for holidays, or we struggle in relationships because people hold us to something we were, no matter how hard we are to break out of our spillerdomness.
Okay.
I don't spill anymore, Mara.
All right, Spiller. Let's get into box now.
Don't dare ever call me that again.
Someone wrote on the chat board, isn't that how you smashed up your nose last year?
Lisa Tuttle, I'm going to get you. Yes, it is how I smashed my nose. I actually spilled something and I tripped. Maybe I am the spiller, you guys. Maybe my mom was right. Maybe I am the spiller if that's how you want me. Lisa Tuttle's holding me to something now. Jim Wood is holding me. It makes, and when enough people call you the spiller, it makes you not want to change. You know.
Okay, everybody hold back on the spiller comments on the chat board.
Pull it back, people. Pull it back. Raghunath's going through some trauma now. Okay.
All right, let's get into it, Raghu.
Narayanam namaskrityananam chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being. Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya. Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Milatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Great interview yesterday, wasn't it? With
you were always thinking of stuff while you're chanting those mantras, right?
No.
It always comes
How
out.
do you know that? How do you
because
know that?
that comes
as soon
so
as
quick
I ended,
afterward.
I thought about Shubha Vilas.
Okay.
As soon as it ended.
Okay, that's true. Okay.
It was
That's
a
nice,
deep
then.
prayer, Prabhu.
Okay, that's all I want to know. What were you thinking of?
I was thinking of praying.
It was a nice interview. It made me want to go get his Ramayana translation.
You know, he did this great was it a book, Mara, or was it, I definitely was a lecture, but it was I think it's a book also about the reasons for the banishment of Sita. Explanations. And it was like 20 explanations of it. And
in his book?
I can't remember if it's the book or if he just gave a lecture on it, but it's definitely on YouTube. I started listening to it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking we could go there, but you could do a whole show on that. I was going to ask him, but I said, nah.
He's got lots of really interesting answers. It's the very, very touchy part of the Ramayana. Okay.
Ready?
Reading from Canto 5, Chapter 10, Text 1.
What's the title? What's the title of the chapter?
Mara.
The discussion between Jed Bart and Maharaj Rahu-guṇa.
Rahu-guṇa.
What's that?
That's a good name, isn't it? Rahu-guṇa.
Rahu-guṇa. I think I'm going to start calling you Raghuveer.
You always call me Raghuveer.
I call you
You know what it
Raghuveer.
means? You know what it means, right?
You know what? I never knew what Raghuveer meant, but now when he mentioned it, I
means
said,
veer.
I get it. It's Raghuveera. It's just shifting that B and the V, yeah. The hero of the Raghu dynasty, right?
The hero of the Raghu dynasty.
Raghuveer.
All right, text 1. So, a little recap here. Judd Bart is, where did we last leave off? He was released, and he was released. They were going to sacrifice him. It was a real sort of a gory story. It's about as gory as I want to get. He was getting sacrificed as a bunch of insane dacoits who were trying to worship Kali, a ferocious form of Kali, wanted to do a human sacrifice. And they oiled up. They captured Judd Bart.
You're just making it sound as weird as possible, too.
He always mentions the oiling.
Yeah, you went right to the oiling.
Oiled him up, put some flower garlands on, ready to cut off his head, and then Kali herself burst out of the deity and killed all the dacoits. So anyway, he's back to normal, and Sukadeva Goswami is going to continue the story here.
Okay, but that previous chapter was to help us understand just how special he is. Now we're going to hear his teachings in this chapter, and they're going to start to come pretty quick. So,
Sure. This is a guy who was pretty much mute his entire life.
yeah,
So he's never practically said anything.
that's right.
My dear king, after this, King Raghunath, ruler of the states known as Sindhu and Sovira, was going to Kapila Ashram.
Do you know where those places are?
Yes, Sindh, it's a state in India. I don't know where Sovira is, but
Well,
you know,
not currently a state, is it?
yeah, Sindhu is, I think, or there.
But I think it refers to the northwestern part of India and what's now Pakistan.
If a person's a Sindhi, that's like from a state. It's like a culture.
We need Vivek, help us with this one. Some
look at
Indian correspondent.
Indian court. Vivek Prajapati. What do we got? Where's Sindhu? Sindhu is a province, right? Sindhi. I think it's Sindhi.
I think it used to be, and maybe those people are still. It's the Punjab area.
Yeah.
Used to be a state in India. Now it's current day Pakistan. So it's not a state in India now.
Okay.
But it was. And and I think Sovira was like just below it. Sovira was just below it, kind of. And then Kapil Ashram, do you know where that is? Came up early in the Bhagavatam reading. It's the Ganga Sagara.
Ah, that's
where the Ganga meets the Bay of
meets
Bengal.
the Bay of Bengal. Always wanted to go there.
Everyone goes there on Makar Sankranti.
Yeah, that's a place where all the alligators are too.
Okay.
It's famous for alligators.
Okay. So he's making a long trip. This king is making a long trip.
Okay. So, my dear king, after this, King Raghunath, ruler of these states, was going on his way to Kapila Ashram when the king's chief palanquin carriers reached the banks of the river Ikshumati.
Which
they
I think
needed
is around
another
Kurukshetra.
And they needed another carrier. Therefore, they began searching for someone, and by chance, they came upon Judd Bart. He's like the big guy. He didn't seem so smart, even though he was very smart. He seemed like a big, doofy guy.
Strong.
Big, strong guy. They're like, all right, let's get this guy. He can walk. He can carry.
I'd imagine the other palanquin carriers are big, strong guys. And that guy. Okay, he put him on the team.
Yeah. They considered the fact
he got drafted on the spot.
Right. You're hired. They considered the fact that Judd Bart was young and strong and had firm limbs. Like cows and asses, he was quite fit to carry loads. Thinking in this way, although the great soul Judd Bart was unfit for such work, right? Because he was actually an incredible saint. Instead of what a waste of time. This guy's a saint and you're having to carry heavy loads. He should be like instructing, leading, right?
Yeah.
Although he was unfit for such work, they nonetheless unhesitatingly forced him to carry the palanquin. The palanquin, however, was very erratically carried. He wasn't a good carrier by Judd Bart due to his sense of nonviolence. As he stepped forward, he checked before him every 3 feet to see whether he was about to step on any ants. Right?
He wasn't going to step on an ant.
You don't want to step on an ant. Why would he? They're people. Ants are people too.
That's right.
Write that down, Mara. Consequently, he could not keep pace with other carriers. Right? He was too careful. He was too conscious. He was too mindful of where he was stepping. It's like when you're driving. If you're not mindful, like anything could cross the road. Due to his palanquin, due to this, the palanquin was shaking. And King Raghunath immediately asked the carriers, why are you carrying this palanquin very unevenly? What's the matter with you guys? Right? Better carry it properly. Just walk.
Okay.
If you're on a palanquin, the last thing you want is bumping up and down.
Now this is Prabhupada's commentary. You ready?
Yeah.
Although Judd Bart was forced to carry the palanquin, he did not give up his sympathetic feelings towards the poor ants passing on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is a good sentence Prabhupada says right here. A devotee of the Lord does not forget his devotional service and other favorable activities like compassion here, right, ahimsa, and so on. Devotee of the Lord does not forget their devotional service and other favorable activities, even when they're in the most distressful condition. That's an important point there, isn't it?
Wow.
Like, in other words, I got my principles. I'm living by them. Okay, well, things got a little tough. Well, I'm still living by them, right?
Mhm.
You got this king sitting up on that palanquin. He's about to condemn you. Hey, still not going to step on any ants, right? You know what this reminded me of, Raghunath?
What?
It reminded me of that question that we had over the weekend from Jen Hunt.
Jen Hunt. I love her.
I know you do. About because we got this comment. She asked about, like, about dementia, and what that could be like as a bhakti yogi, and we spoke a bit about that, and I shared an example of a woman that I knew who was a devotee, a serious bhakti yogi, a deep, good, sweethearted devotee, and then she got dementia. But when she got dementia, it was like there's still this remembrance within her of being a devotee. So although she seemed to know nothing and know no one and not remember anything, but when someone would, like, do kirtan with her, she'd immediately perk up, and there's like something inside. So we got this comment on YouTube from a person named Dear Bhaktadas.
Dear Bhakta, good name.
Dear Bhakta. He said that this reminded me of when he was asked to look after a person that was a doctor that had dementia. And nobody knew what to do with this person. They said he was running around, and he would throw his food all over the place, and he would refuse to eat food. Like, people was giving him food, and he was just like, I don't want, he's just like throwing it away, and everyone's like, this guy's crazy, And he said when he arrived, he said he found a little Indian man, and I can't quite make out what the comment means here. He was running around saying, God is good, and Sita Ram, or something like that. And he said, I simply went up and I whispered into his ear, Hare Krishna. And he looked and smiled, and we hugged, and he sat down as I chanted the Maha Mantra. He said, now when it came to food, I got out my prasadam. In other words, I got out my food that was offered to Krishna, right? That was vegetarian and whatever.
Sure.
And he said, and we sat on the floor, and he ate all of it. So in other words, it was like he couldn't communicate that I can't eat the food that you're giving me due to my spiritual convictions. So people keep giving it to him, say, eat it, eat it, eat it. And it's like, I'm not going to eat it. And eventually, out of frustration, you throw it. And everybody's like, he's just impossible,
Right.
But it was because he still had it, even though there was a breakdown in the brain.
He had some adhikari, some remembrance of.
Because his mind was okay behind the brain.
Mm-hmm.
But and so he said he couldn't remember anything about being a medical doctor, even though he was a general practitioner.
Yeah.
But all the spiritual remembrances was still there underneath it all. Interesting.
Interesting.
Right? So
Very interesting.
Yeah. So like Prabhupada said here, how did he phrase it again? He said, a devotee of the Lord does not forget his devotional service and other favorable activities, even when he is in a most stressful condition. Right?
It brings us to another point. If you're listening on YouTube, it's always good to like, comment, and subscribe.
Okay, thank you.
I want to say, no, because it makes a difference. It pushes our stuff to the top.
Give a little
And if
favorable
people are
comment
searching
too.
for some type of spiritual wisdom or something like
Yeah.
that, it'll
Drop a heart.
It'll just drag wisdom in the sages right there.
Maybe
Like,
drop a heart.
comment, and drop a heart, drop a like,
Okay.
like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Okay.
So now he's carrying the palanquin, but he's not carrying it right, and the king's getting upset. He's getting
King's getting a
judgmental.
little-
He's going to get judgmental.
PO'd. When the palanquin carriers heard threatening words of the king, right, they became very afraid of his punishment and began to speak to him as follows. O Lord, please note that we are not at all negligent in discharging our duties. We have been faithfully carrying the palanquin according to your desire. But this man, who has been recently engaged to work with us, cannot walk very swiftly. Therefore, we are not able to carry the palanquin with him. They were
Bunch
like,
of snitches.
yeah, they ratted him out right there.
Okay.
It's not us, it's him. King Raghunath could understand the speeches given by the carriers who were afraid of being punished. He could understand also that simply due to the fault of one person, the palanquin was not being carried properly. Knowing this perfectly well and hearing their appeal, he became a little angry. And although he was very advanced in political science and was very experienced, his anger arose due to his inborn nature as a king. I mean, to be a king, to be that type of leader, you have a little bit of an ego in there. That's part of the karmic recipe that you have in this lifetime. And it's appropriate, even if you have that ego, you've got to temper it with spiritual information.
Right.
So now he's ready to like punish, right?
Yeah. He's like, I'm the king. I got to, kind of like we say, do we have to figure everything out? Okay, this guy's not carrying the palanquin. I got to figure this out too. Hey, you know, do it right.
Right. Actually, King Raghunath's mind was covered by the mode of passion. And therefore he spoke as follows to Judd Bart, whose Brahman effulgence was not clearly visible, being covered like a fire covered by ashes.
Okay, let's read this commentary, Raghunath. Why don't you hit it?
The commentary for 5?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Oh, I'm still struggling with the comment of Lisa Tuttler's like, isn't this how you...
You're the spiller.
Isn't this what happened last year? You split your nose open. You spilled the coffee on your mother's carpet. Yes, Lisa, it is. That's how I did it. I am a spiller. The distinction between rajo-guṇa and sattva-guṇa is explained in this verse. Although King was very upright and advanced in political science and governmental management, right? To run a country. That's a very, very tall order. And a lot of times we're always like critical of our leaders, of our, well, they should be doing it like this. They should be doing it like this. A lot of us can't even make our bed in the morning when we get out of the house. But you were sitting there in an armchair trying to like correct how you should run a government, which has thousands and thousands of moving parts.
People always, we're judgmental, right? Like, or watching like a football game. Why did you make that call? Why did you,
throw him out of there? What a
yeah, like that person is so much more experienced and had their reasons, right?
I know.
So it is our tendency to be judgmental rather than curious.
Yeah. Okay. So so this is the difference between rajo-guṇa and sattva-guṇa. The king is very advanced in political science and governmental management. He was nonetheless in the mode of passion, and therefore, due to a slight agitation, he became angry. Judd Bart, despite all kinds of injustice, endured because of his deaf and dumb display. And he remained silent by the strength of his spiritual advancement. That's a sign, right? Where, people are just being cruel and you're just like, you know what? You be you. I'm just going to take it, right?
You be you, yeah.
Nonetheless, his brahmateja, right? The strength of his spiritual fortitude, his Brahman effulgence was indistinctly visible in his person. You meet people like that, huh?
You do.
They're just like, they're radiant.
It mentions here, it says that the king was upasita vridaha, which means that he had been instructed by worshipable people, right? By like worshipable elders, like sages, right? Like being the king, you receive the instructions of these great thinkers. That was, we don't have that anymore, Like sometimes like the president, they'll have like their advisory, sometimes professors come in and advise them on different things and so on, And I suppose some of them
they have lots of
priests, like Billy Graham comes in and, or something like that, right?
Well, they're not necessarily religious advisors. They're
sometimes they are
ministers and consultants.
Yeah, sometimes they are though. Sometimes they have their priest or whoever they go to. But this was like a really important part of like training for leadership, in this Vedic paradigm, that like it was so much about hearing from wise people, hearing from saintly people. He had received those instructions, yet still, because he was influenced by this passionate mode, by this rajo-guṇa. Rajo-guṇa means I'm not content. I'm up here. I got 4 guys carrying me, and it's going a little bumpy. I'm angry, right? And I'm out of control because I haven't learned to be content. I'm out of control. Anger takes over, and we'll see that his anger is so misplaced, right? Whereas Jutta Bard, he's been forced into slavery practically, and he's content.
He's not complaining at anything.
Yeah, so we're seeing the difference between sattva-guṇa, where under even difficult circumstances I can be content, and rajo-guṇa, where even a little thing sends me, makes me a victim of my own anger. Right, I'm being controlled.
Yeah,
and that's not gonna. If we want spiritual transformation, which requires absorbing the mind deeply in spiritual content like mantras, like wisdom, literature, and so on, deep into ritual, whatever it may be. That sense of discontent, and what to speak of, it leading to anger and so on. It means that mind is not suitable, will not be capable of deep absorption. Right? So
all right, here's a practice for today.
What's that?
Everybody on Zoom and any other out there listening, no complaining about
Monday?
anything today. It's no complaining Monday today. No complaining about anything today. See if we can just be tolerant with what's going on. Doesn't mean we shouldn't discern. Doesn't mean we're like, oh, my hand is on the stove. The stove is hot. I'm not going to complain. Raghunath told me not to. No, you take your hand away. Yes, don't be.
Kylie Brown, she's just taking this up. She's like, okay, I'm going to try this.
Yes, Raghunath, he's so wise. For example, today we're just not going to complain, and we're going to see how it goes. And because complaining in the mind is a practice. In the same way, doing a handstand, playing violin, we practice. We get better at it. You get better at complaining by complaining.
Until you're doing it involuntarily all the time.
Yeah, you're doing it involuntarily. It just becomes second nature. You know how in martial arts you do these hand motions or boxing? You don't have to think twice. Someone attacks you, just go right to your hand motions, elbows, headbutts, whatever it is. In martial arts, these become second nature. Or typing. Let's use typing instead of headbutts. You're typing your name and not even thinking about it anymore. The complaining in the mind is a practice, and it makes you miserable. That's the interesting thing. It makes you miserable.
But, even though it's making us miserable, we continue to do it. I think it has something to do with because it makes us feel better than others. Like, I'm the victim, it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a miserable condition to be in. Remember that time I took the bus up to see you?
And you were complaining about it. The Wi-Fi wasn't working. No.
I was sitting next to a guy that was complaining constantly, like the bus driver said beforehand, we're going to make a stop at this certain place at a certain time, and I think we were just running a little bit late, and this guy was like, "Oh, don't stop, don't." Oh, why? He was just like complaining and turning to me and trying to get me
trying to get you on his team.
He just wanted me to get right into it with him,
And it was sort of like solidifying his ego as the master. The more you complain,
exactly.
The more you're solidifying the illusion that you are always right. You are the master. Your vision is absolute. Everyone has to rise to you to understand the real truth of the world. No.
But once you awaken, Raghu,
you understand.
You have no interest in judging those who are asleep.
Yes. Okay.
So
So you were like, no, my friend, I won't go there. I understand you. I understand.
It wasn't quite like that. But
I could see you in the bus completely tolerant, sitting like in lotus position with your hands in some mudra on your lap.
It wasn't quite like that
The
either.
guy just like,
But I didn't participate.
And you're just like, peace be with you.
Yeah, I think he got the message that I wasn't, hey, I'm not
going to play this
entertaining
game.
Stuff.
I'm not going to play this.
I tried not to be all snooty about it, but
yeah,
I was like,
I understand. You're upset.
Yeah. The point was, it's not going to change anything, right? Like you're saying, the bus said they're going to stop there. They're going to stop there. You have to deal with it. You got on the bus. You're going to get off it at a certain point, and you have to tolerate whatever is in between. So you're going to do it with a peaceful mind. That would be sattva-guṇa, right?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be like King Raghunath here? You're just all upset all the time. Okay.
So interesting how this ego manifests, huh?
Yeah.
It's manifests anywhere. I had like you want to hear something pathetic? How my ego is manifesting?
Yeah,
the
let's
other
hear
day?
something pathetic.
Okay, I had to get new internet, so people are like, "Hey, what's the Wi-Fi code?" My kids are like, "What's the Wi-Fi code?" And I was like, "Open your phone, I'll share it with you." And it's like, ever do that where you share the Wi-Fi code with someone? You press share,
I don't know
and
how to do that.
and they're like, "Thank you, thank you." I was like, "There you go." Blessings. You feel I get an ego boost of sharing a Wi-Fi code. How crazy is that? I was like, yes, here you go, my subjects. I will share it with you and endow you with information in the information age. Let me share
I give you the World Wide Web.
the Wi-Fi. I out to you. Mara, can I share with you? Let me help you, Mara. Share. It's amazing where this ego will come up.
What did they say? The pauper is proud of his penny.
Proud of my penny. Yeah.
I'm not saying you. I'm just saying.
Alrighty. Where are we at?
Is it text 6, I think?
Text 6. Oh, yeah. You're reading that little purport. All right. King Raghunath told Judd Bart how troublesome this is, my dear brother. You certainly appear very fatigued.
He's being totally sarcastic now when he speaks.
Okay. So this is...
Let's have a dramatic reading. Let's have a dramatic reading.
Oh, how troublesome this is, my dear brother. You certainly appear very fatigued because you have carried this palanquin alone without assistance for a long time and for a long distance.
It's like we just got started, right? And he's like...
Right. You just walked about 10 steps and you're dodging bugs. Well, he doesn't know about the bugs yet. The king doesn't know. Besides that, due to your old age, right? He's like a young, strapping lad. Due to your old age, you have become greatly troubled. Is that what's going on? My dear friend, I see that you are not very firm, nor very strong and stout. Aren't your fellow carriers cooperating with you? Right, he's getting all nasty.
He's going to regret everything that he just said and everything that he's about to say. He's going to regret this, right? He didn't put a little curiosity in there. He jumped to judgment. He didn't put a little time between the stimulus and the response. You got all sarcastic. Well, he's going to eat
read
these
the
words.
Purport at all in this?
In a few. Let's keep going for a moment here.
All right.
Unless you want to. There's something you see there that you want to share.
Sorry. Okay.
What are you doing? Are you
Thereafter, when the king saw that his palanquin was still being shaken by the carriers, he became very angry and said, "You rascal! What are you doing? Are you dead despite the life within your body?"
Ouch.
Ow. Do you not know that I am your master?
Oh, now he's looking like a real fool now, right?
Yeah, it's going to look bad in a second. He's setting himself up. You are disregarding me and not carrying out my order. You're the spiller. For this disobedience, I shall now punish you just as Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, punishes sinful people.
Whoa.
Right? I shall give you a proper treatment so that you will come to your senses and do the correct thing.
Have you ever been there in this rajo-guṇa state of mind?
Yes. Are you kidding? Have I not been there?
I guess when you have kids, it's there's more opportunity too, right?
Yeah. Especially when my stepkids, when they got bigger, they were like 6'3", you know what I mean? And I'm like 5 foot short, and they're acting all kiddish and loud with me and inappropriate. And then it's sort of like, ever see what was that TV show? F Troop? No, not F Troop. Gomer Pyle. When like the sergeant's yelling at Gomer, and Gomer's really tall, and so I'm yelling at these kids, and you're like, "I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna correct." Forget it.
Gomer Pyle.
Forget it. You don't want to remember Gomer Pyle?
Jim Neighbors.
Thank you. Golly. Thinking himself a king, the Europeans are like, "What are you talking about?" Thinking himself a king, King Raghunath was in the bodily conception and was influenced by material nature's mode of passion and ignorance. Due to madness, he chastised Judd Bart with uncalled for and contradictory words. Judd Bart was the topmost devotee and the dear abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Wow.
Although considering himself very learned, the king did not know about the position of an advanced devotee situated in devotional service, nor did he know his characteristics, right? He didn't have the qualification himself to understand, look who I'm dealing with here. This guy is not an ordinary guy. Sometimes we need, we need the dress of a holy person to give a person respect. In Vaishnav culture, we teach that it's not just a person who's a monk or a sannyasi or a holy robes to give respect to people, right? So he was exalted, but the king should have that type of the king shouldn't be so quick to condemn immediately in the first place.
That's right.
Yeah. Although considering himself very learned, the king did not know about the position of a great soul. Okay. Judd Bart was the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He always carried the form of the Lord within his heart. He was the dear friend of all living beings, and he did not entertain any bodily conception. He therefore smiled and spoke the following words.
Cliffhanger.
Okay, because it's 6:59. Oh, yeah. Cliffhanger, edge of my seat.
What did
Mara,
he say?
Give me
what
some
did
juice.
he say?
Give me some goodies, some takeaway goodies, Miss Mara.
I got some good stuff today.
No, got to get that T-shirt.
Oh, thank you. Someone posted a picture of Sergeant Carter yelling at Gomer Pyle. Thank you, Tom from Cleveland.
All right. Don't let Maya in an inch.
Don't give Maya an inch. Don't open the door a crack.
Follow the 5th regulative principle. Don't watch demonic movies.
Don't watch demonic movies. Don't let the devil in your house.
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan.
Be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
Curious.
Yoga creates space between stimulus and response.
Yoga creates space between stimulus and response. Like it.
Condemn activities, not people.
Kids are people too. What-ka-do?
Ants are people too.
Do you know what that is, Kastuva?
I heard it before. It's from some television show, I'm sure, Raghunath.
Children's shows.
Yeah.
That was my education. I should have been studying Sanskrit shlokas. I was watching Wonderama. Maybe because it had the name Rama.
There you go.
I'm here today.
That's something.
Okay, let's go.
Don't forget your principles when times are tough.
That's right. Devotee doesn't forget them.
Right.
I'm not stepping on the ants, even if the king's getting on my case.
Yeah.
Don't practice complaining.
There's a lot of don'ts.
How about
practice not complaining?
Practice not. That's still a don't. How do you make a positive out of this?
Wait, listen to this. Cultivate sattva-guṇa to be content under difficult circumstances.
That's a positive.
Positive.
Cultivate sattva-guṇa.
And
something to do with a spiller, I got a feeling.
Ragu's not the body, not the mind, not the spiller.
That's debatable. Maybe the
According
spiller.
to Lisa Tuttle, I am. Oh, Lisa Tuttle, I love you.
The spiller, Raghunath, huh?
I'm not the spiller. I want you to know that. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I'm getting surgery this week, Stu. You know that?
I know, on Thursday, right?
They're going to patch up my belly
Or on
button.
Wednesday? Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
Does that mean? Yeah, my belly button. It looks like what was that movie Alien, where there's a beast trying to come out of my belly button? That's where I'm at right now with my hernia.
All right. How long have you had this hernia?
It's
Your
not
belly button's been like that a long time. I think.
It's been like that for a while, and when I was in India, they were like, you know what? Time to do this. Yeah.
Who told you? The Bhaktivedanta
Bhaktivedanta
Hospital?
Hospital.
Get it done.
So I'm accepting that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has spoken through those doctors. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. It's Monday. It's time to get these kids off to school.